So, welcome back to another episode of Tapping into Life. I am your host, Brenda Holder, and I am so excited to share with you this beautiful conversation I had with Charmaine Carey, who is the founder of Willow 67. And that is a neurofeedback training clinic. This is a conversation where we are talking about how to support our brain health. And it's so important to have these conversations. And I was so excited that Charmaine was interested in joining me on Tapping into Life. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about Charmaine. She's got a beautiful story. Charmaine is a dedicated advocate for personal transformation and healing through neurofeedback training. As a certified neuro-optimal trainer, she has empowered countless individuals to unlock their full potential, guiding through a journey of self-discovery, emotional balance, and mental clarity. Charmaine's passion for neurofeedback stems from her own life changing experiences, and her mission is to help others experience the same transformation. Having faced the challenges of adoption, trauma, and identity, Charmaine's personal story is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Her journey led her to study with world renowned trauma expert Dr. Bessel Van Der Kolk, where she discovered the profound benefits of neurofeedback. This revelation ignited her purpose to offer a solution that nurtures the mind, body, and soul, helping individuals overcome concussions, anxiety, depression, trauma, ADHD, and more. At Willow 67, Charmaine focuses on alleviating suffering, particularly with vulnerable communities, including seniors, parents, athletes, students, and individuals navigating the complexities of adoption, trauma, and high stress environments. Charmaine's vision is to create a ripple effect of well being throughout her community by introducing the transformative power of neurofeedback. She aims to reduce mental health struggles, alleviate addictions, and support people through major life transitions such as menopause, fertility journeys, and high stress careers. At the heart of her work is a simple yet profound belief: everyone deserves to thrive, and with the right tools, they can. And yes, I believe all of that. And I have had the opportunity to experience neurofeedback with Charmaine, and she provides such a safe and welcoming environment. And you are going to hear that in our beautiful conversation. So let's head on to the episode. So, welcome, Charmaine. I am so honored and privileged to have you. I feel like you are one of my new beautiful soul sisters. And I know that we have only recently met, but I feel like we have been connected for a long time. And so it is just such a privilege to have you on Tapping into Life. And I know that our listeners are going to have so many beautiful takeaways from our conversation today, because this is a really important conversation to have about brain health. And I don't think we're having enough, there aren't enough conversations about this. So I think this is going to be so enriching, and I'm super excited to dive in. So I'm welcoming you, and let's start off with, what does tapping into life mean for you?
Well, Brenda, thank you for having me. So tapping into life means fully embracing the present moment and living with a sense of purpose and energy and awareness. It's about being connected to who you truly are and understanding your potential and actively engaging with the world around you.
Oh, I love that. I love when I ask this question to everybody. And, everybody has similar, like the meaning is the same, but it's sort of described a bit differently. And it's
Mhm.
so beautiful. Ultimately, we're just being our true selves, right? We're coming back to who we're really meant to be in our mind, body, and soul. So thank you so much. That was so beautiful. I loved all of that. So I would love for you to share a little bit of your journey with the listeners on, like, I know you're going to be diving into like what is neurofeedback, and like I've experienced it once and it was like, whoa, it was pretty mind blowing. And so I'd love for you to share with us, like, how did you discover this, and like, how's this changed your life, and share all of that with us.
So this all happened a few years ago, 3 years ago, when I decided that enough was enough with my life. And I had no idea that the past was still really haunting me, and that I had not realized that the past was going into my future. So I was in I can say, the last abusive relationship that I would ever be in. And I had to walk away. I had to stop my life. I gave myself permission to stop my life and to heal. And I went to different modalities. And then I found the book, The Body Keeps the Score. And it was by Dr. Bessel Van Der Kolk. And it just changed my life. It was like, wow, you don't have to deal with this. There's things that you can do. And so then I decided the opportunity actually came to go and to work with him down at the Kirpalo Institute down in Massachusetts. So I dove in. I had a broken foot at the time, and went down to Massachusetts for, it was 8 days. And we just dove right in. There were all the different modalities in the book, and neurofeedback just really resonated with me. It answered the questions that I had. I didn't have words for what was going on, and you don't have to have words. It was an amazing modality. I came back from that, did my own neurofeedback training with another professional, and then it just impacted my life so much that I just needed to share it with the world.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'd like to go back to a point you were making around, this will be the last abusive relationship that I will ever be in. And I know that I don't know who listens to my podcast, that people are coming from all over, and that I think would really have an impact on a lot of listeners, in that how do we change that direction when we've been in a particular pattern of life. And sometimes we know, like, logically, like, I can't keep living this way. And then it's like, but how do I change it? So was there a particular like moment or something that was like, boom, like, I can't do this anymore?
Actually, yes. So December 2020 was the day. Well, back it up. I mean, I was adopted. I found my birth mother when I was 41. Had a little bit of a relationship, estranged. There were problems. Anyways, got back together with her, went out to British Columbia, and just found out a whole bunch of, really hit home that just because they're blood doesn't mean that you have to be with them.
Mm,
And so December 6th, 2020, I decided to come back home, and I felt like there were angels lifting me up, because daggers were just words of daggers were being
mm,
at me, and it just, these angels wrapped around me, and I walked out the door and turned around, and I was able to say that, I'm done. It's my choice now, that I
mm,
do. And I came home, and my world just opened up. I saw, it was like glasses were taken off, and I
mhm,
saw that I was in this abusive relationship. I saw for what it was, but I grew up that way. So that's what I thought
mhm,
love was. and I accepted it. And just from that moment, things just started happening, and I just really saw, and I got the courage to leave. And it took me, I left on July the 11th with garbage
Mm,
bags and a moving truck, because I had to show up, and the police were called before. I mean, there was, some history there.
mhm,
And, but I'm so proud of myself for showing up
mhm,
and moving and not knowing and just allowing myself to take 1 year. I thought it was only going to take 1 year. I'm an overachiever. Thought it was only going to take 1 year.
mm.
We are now still going on, and we're a lot to unravel. So,
Mm,
but you can change. You can change. And that's what neurofeedback has done for me. It has, I call it, that my brain was the computer and I was incorrectly uh, programmed. So
mhm.
I deprogrammed, and now I get to reprogram my life. And I thought it was going to be easy, but it is a little difficult, to start from the beginning again and decide what you really want, and you get to have choices on your own.
Yeah, I love all of what you're sharing. I think that the two big things that stood out for me from what you just shared, and thank you for being so vulnerable and really sharing some of these more difficult memories, is choice. Is that we do have a choice on how we choose to move in our life, even though there may have been certain circumstances that happened. Oftentimes we're staying in this similar pattern of like low self-worth, that this is just how I am, and we don't know that we can change. And so I thank you for bringing this forward, because this is important for people to hear, that we do have a choice on how we choose to live our life, even if we've had a rough start, we've had a lot of things that have been challenging. And I also love that you spoke about courage and that you're proud of yourself, because, yes, this takes courage. And I think, too, we're living in a society where we want immediate gratification. Like, we want things like, I was listening to, I think it was a podcast, and I can't remember who it was, but it was like the focus of, we can get things in 5 minutes. Like if I make a place an order with Amazon, it's going to be at my door by the day, like by the end of the day. And it's like, what? And so I think that's why we give up on ourselves a lot of the time, because we aren't willing to put the time in, but we won't tell ourselves other things. It's like, well, it doesn't work. A lot of these modalities don't work. But in actual fact, it's us that we're kind of dismissing, right? Like we're blaming these other things, but in actual fact, we're giving up on ourselves. So I love that you're speaking about the courage and that you are proud of yourself. And we need to speak this way about ourselves. And I think as women in particular, our voices have been kept, kind of at the back, right? We need to be, keeping our voice low or not have a voice at all. And so when we start to use our voice, we have our power. And when we have our power, we can feel like we can make choice. So you have done all of those things, Charmaine. And that is so inspiring for myself. And I know for our listeners. So thank you for sharing that. That
Well,
is amazing. So you've been touching on neurofeedback. So let's learn about this. This is so interesting. So, what is neurofeedback?
what is it? So I use, it's called Neuroptimal is the system. It is from Zengar, and it is a neurofeedback training. So it is a cutting edge brain training system designed to help your brain self regulate and operate more efficiently. So imagine your brain, if it could function in its absolute best. I mean, helping you handle stress, staying focused and sharp, feeling more balanced, and with no effort, as you know, Brenda, right? There's
Mhm.
just nothing for you to really do. It's like going to the gym. Do you know, you want to keep your body fit, but what are we doing with our brains, right? So we kind of forget them. We expect them to work, for us like that instantly, as you say, right? But what are we doing to help that? So it talks to your brain. It helps it become more balanced and resilient. So think of it as a way to train your brain to handle stress better, focus more clearly, feel calmer overall. Whether you're dealing with anxiety, trouble sleeping, or just want to feel sharper, then Neuroptimal helps your brain reset and work more efficiently without needing to do anything except sit back, relax, and let it work. It's natural, it's safe, yeah, and easy. And that's what got me was, wow, like it's so easy. This can't be working. It's so easy. All I have to do is sit here. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, and I was able to take it, have the opportunity to experience this myself, and it's yeah, like most modalities, you have to have some form of participation, whether and when we're talking about modalities, a lot of the listeners know I do tapping, and so that's an energy modality. But again, you have to tap on your body, and there's we have Reiki, which is another energy modality, and somebody else is working on the energy. But a lot of these things are involving you doing something on some format. And so, yeah, when you said to me, I'm going to plug these little sensors on the top of your head and on your ears, and you're going to watch this imaging, it was like a meditation in a lot of sense, right? I couldn't believe how relaxed I felt. And it was very interesting. Like, I was like exceptionally relaxed. And I've noticed over time that my body has become way more at ease. I had so many different health issues, and one of the things,
Sorry.
it's okay. It's okay. I'll edit it. So good.
Sorry. It's that tickle.
Hmm.
And when you're trying to to get that tickle away and it just keeps coming up even more.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I think we're
How's it feel? How's everything feeling?
good.
Okay, great. All right. So I'll edit all that out, and then we'll start again.
Okay. Sorry.
No, don't be. So I noticed when I was having all these different health issues, I was very disconnected to my body. So I was like, a lot was going on in my head. And I didn't realize I'm learning about astrology. So my rising is Gemini, Gemini rising. So I have a lot of thoughts in my head. I'm like in my head all the time. So is this like neurofeedback something that's good for somebody that's like an overthinker, that they're always, thinking, and they are very disconnected to their body?
Absolutely. So what it does, it's like a mirror. And like you said, there's sensors that are being placed on your head, but you don't worry. There's you just sit back and you relax. So what's happening is the sensors are picking up we're all energy. So it's picking
Mhm.
up the energy and in real time, taking it back to you through the so sorry. I'm so sorry. So it's giving it back to you through the pauses in the music. And so it's just like a little gentle thing like, hey, we see that there's a loop. We see that you're, like the same thing is
Mhm.
going on and on. It's just a gentle pause. And so after time, this training helps your brain become more flexible. And you just learn just to ignore those pauses, like, and ignore those loops. And it just calms you down. You sit back, you relax, you let the system gently guide your brain to optimal functioning. There's no effort required, just a willingness for your brain to tune itself up. And it's so relaxing, and it just happens automatically. It's very, very hard to understand and to explain it. It's just, you need to come and try it.
Exactly. And, one of the things that's coming to mind, and this was explained to me by a psychologist, is that sometimes, like if we take our brain as an example, like a parking lot, you know, you could maybe pull into maybe not such a busy place, like just a little tiny mall, and then you can like easily find parking. It's like, oh, there's lots of spaces, it's not too busy. And then you could go to like a super mall like Yorkdale or the Eaton Center, and you're like, there's no parking. And that's like our capacity in our brain. Like our brain only can hold so much. So when we have something happen and we're like looking at our life like the Yorkdale, the Eaton Center, where there's like no space, no parking space, that we are, impacted by these different stressors in our environment so much faster because there's no space in our brain. And I noticed when I was dealing with my health that my nervous system, I didn't know at the time, and nobody was talking about this, that I was living in fight or flight. And then I would go into faint. So I would pass out. And nobody was talking about any of this. Well, maybe you're anxious, there's anxiety. But it was a very brief conversation. There was very little conversation about maybe you have stress, like no kidding. And this was like way before, the pandemic or anything like that. But I recognized that there's something seriously going on here. And unless I change the wiring and like I've got to like release some of that in my head. I had no idea like how I was going to do that. But it's like you can't carry all of this because eventually you're just going to max out. And I think this, and I'd be interested to know if you feel comfortable talking about this, is like, how does this tie into, we're on the rise with dementia, we're on the rise with PTSD. Like it's like everybody's getting, when you turn around, it's like people are just getting diagnosed with all these things. And I'm thinking, is this because our brain's capacity is at its max? What are your thoughts, Charmaine?
Well, the brain is your control center for your whole body, and your central nervous system is through the body, so your brain controls that. And when you can be at ease, like out of your flight and fight, then that's when healing begins. So when you can calm your central nervous system, then everything else just seems to fall in place. It's like looking at water. So if you look at a pot of boiling water, you can't see through it, right? It's all, bubbling and I mean all mixed up, and it's moving here and there, and that's kind of like your brain, right? When you're stressed. But when it's calm and before you turn it on to boil, you can see through, right? It's calm. It's so that's basically what, if your central nervous system is calm, you can think clearer. There isn't the mumble jumble of the bubbles, and you can see through things instead of making a quick decision and it just out of fear.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you were saying earlier about the you don't have to have words. And I'm wondering if you can maybe explain that, because I think oftentimes when we think about, okay, I need to go maybe to therapy, and by no means this isn't about you shouldn't do this or that. It's
No.
what you need to find what fits for you.
Yeah.
But I know oftentimes, especially when you've come from, dealing with certain traumatic events in your life, we've suppressed a lot. And so finding the words to talk about those things can be very challenging. So you had mentioned about you don't need your words. So what does that mean exactly?
Well, I didn't have my words. Let's say I did go to talk therapy before, and they would say, "Well, what was this, and what happened there?" And I don't really have a lot of memory of my childhood. I mean, so in trauma, you block things out,
Mhm.
and sometimes it comes back, or you don't want it to. I mean, your brain is doing that for a reason. It's helping you to block out, because if it was such a bad experience, your brain will block it out. Um, and it just out of service for you, for your body. I mean, you just go, I had out of body, I would go right out of my body because I couldn't
Mhm.
protect myself. I was a little child, and big people were holding me down and hurting me. And so the only
Mhm.
way that I could, without going, crazy, I guess, I'm not sure, I would just separate my body from my mind. And then it got to be a way of life where I just wasn't even present in my body. And I did things to my body. I let people do things to my body because I just wasn't part of it. But then when I started the talk therapy, they would say, well, go back to a time or do this. And I couldn't. I just couldn't do it. And then I felt a little bit like a failure because I couldn't even, I wasn't even doing well in talk therapy. And
Mhm.
that's when I did find the neurofeedback. And it just gets you to relax so that you can calm down. Things come up, and I see my past now not as something that hurt me, but something that brought me to the woman that I am now. So I see myself differently. I mean, old things still creep up, as we know, every time again. But for the most part, I'm a totally different person than what I was. I'm not a people pleaser anymore. It wouldn't matter if it hurt me, but I would do it anyways, just to fit in. And so this gets you to be the best version of yourself. You get to be yourself. You get to find out who you really are without all that other baggage that you've been carrying all those years that no longer serve you. There's these programs that are going on and on and on in your brain that from it could be just something silly that you think, but no, like, it stopped you. Words stopped you.
Mhm.
Somebody had said something that got you to think differently, and that's not serving you anymore. So neurofeedback can stop that and get you out of those loops and get you thinking on your own.
That's beautiful. I love all of it. And I think too, it's what you were mentioning about the safety. And that's something that I I learned through my own journey of healing, is that how important that safety is, but not just like I'm feeling safe in my environment, but I'm actually feeling safe in my body. And when I was first starting this journey, I didn't even know how to feel it with my body. Like I was really disconnected myself. And I think that that's not unusual. I think we're more going in that direction than we are connecting. I think we're slowly becoming, more aware as a society just around How am I, fueling my body? How am I being mindful of my body? How am I taking care? Am I listening to my body? When it's screaming with aches and pains, am I, giving it some tender, loving care, or am I, keep kind of, roughing it up? And this conversation is really opening me up to exploring, if you're comfortable with this, a little bit around concussions. Is this something that neurofeedback could be helpful with if somebody's had a concussion?
Absolutely. Yes, I do have clients that have had concussions. You do not watch the visualizer as, for a concussion, but this just calms the brain. I've had clients, I have not personally had a concussion myself, but I have had clients that have come in and said that it's throbbing. Their head is just throbbing and throbbing and throbbing. And even if they close their eyes, it still is there. And I have had, many clients, one in especially that she got hooked up, and she's like halfway through, she goes, the throbbing just stopped. She started
Mm.
crying. She was feeling, like, wow. I mean, just the relief that she got. So this can speed up healing, especially for a concussion. Speed up healing I have clients that are going through chemo and they're not having, and this is all individual, but they're not having the symptoms. They've come in, say, halfway through their chemo treatments, and they're like, wow, I'm not getting the headache. You're still getting some of it, but it's just easier to go through, they're not getting as tired, because this calms your body, which then healing can start. Students, peak performance athletes, trauma, dementia. Preventative. Let's train your brain. It can never take anything away, but it can slow down the process.
Yeah. So I'm thinking of a couple of situations. In particular, my older son, he was playing, very active in sports when he was in school, and he actually suffered 3 concussions.
Wow.
And one of the things that I think we're getting better at, you know, before in the past, it would be like, shake it off and just, get back out there. But I think that we're recognizing, how important the brain is, and how much, like you said, it controls everything. And so if the brain is not going to work properly, it's going to affect the body. But they were talking at times when we would speak to the neurologist, they were saying like he may not be able to play hockey or basketball and any of those, compact sports where, there's some kind of, where they're physically touching each other. You may have to play something like tennis where, you're not having that physical contact. And it's really hard when you have a young boy that loves playing sports, and their whole, but it feels like their whole life has been like thrown around, and they're like, what? Like sleeping in a dark room, not being able to be on any type of device, because it's just. And I noticed, even for myself, I did have a concussion back in the day when I was a camp counselor, and I thought I broke my neck. And maybe, on some level I did fracture my neck, because back then we didn't
You
we didn't
didn't.
go and get these things checked. But yeah, it was crazy. There was like this slide on the rock, which was fine, but I had thought, wow, like I'm kind of there to make sure the kids are okay. And a kid landed on my head. I went fully under the water, and like I came up and I was like, I can't even move my neck. And it was so scary, and I couldn't stay. I had to leave. And they basically said, you probably have a concussion. and, just have bed rest. And I think that, I'm definitely going to suggest this to my older son, because even though, we may think we've healed these parts of our body, but there is residual effects that affect us. And even around, I'm noticing, like, I'm coming into my late 50s, and how quickly younger people are getting diagnosed with some of these neurological issues like dementia. And I think too, as you were talking about the programming, is that we, almost start to fall into it a little bit. Like, well, my parents, like my mother or my father had it. And so I'm noticing I have a terrible memory, I can't remember to save my life. And we start talking in this framework. And so what is the body and the mind going to do? It's going to be like, okay, and start to kind of fall into this. And so our immune system starts to feel compromised, and it just ripples all the way down. And one of the things I found interesting when I first learned about tapping is that feeling that sensation of calmness in my body, and how my mind started to feel more at ease. It's hard to make decisions. And that's what I found with the neurofeedback. It's like, wow, like I could, like the world just seemed like a whole different situation. And I think that if we are, especially in this place of overthinking, we're overthinkers, we're giving a lot of our energy away, and we're already depleted, and our health is, often just a constant concern, like we're always dealing with being sick, that I think we need to give some attention to the brain. We need to start looking at what's going on in our brain, because like you just said, that this is what controls the body. Yet we're giving okay, well, maybe you need physio, or maybe you need to take these different medications, and we're really looking at more from the neck down approach. And instead of like, how do we keep this amazing brain, this beautiful part of our body, optimal so that it has longevity? Like, I think that that's the piece that we need to be giving some attention to. And would you say, like, this is not about an age? This is about at any point we should be doing this.
Oh, 100%. And now we're finding out through scientists, I mean, thank goodness for them, that we can make new neural pathways. I mean, before, we were told, I mean, oh, that's it, like but now we're finding out that there is this brain body connection, and we can make new neural pathways. And that's what the neurofeedback does, just makes new neural pathways, clears everything up. It's like a busy
Beautiful.
highway, right? And it gives you another lane, let's say, in the highway for you to the express lane.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I noticed, and I remember sharing this with you, is that um, I, like, even the next day, and I'm walking my dog, and I'm just like, wow, like I just felt so much peace and
Yeah.
joy. But the interesting thing about it was I didn't have to do anything to get to that place of feeling that.
Yeah.
And that was like a big aha moment, because I'm kind of got this routine where I do certain things. I meditate, I journal, I'm tapping, I got my whole system here. And I didn't do any of those things. And I was going, wow, like I actually like feel this joy. And I'm like, I'm just out here walking my dog. Like, and I'm like, wow, it's such a beautiful day. But I was noticing that I would have maybe had different thoughts in the, not that long ago, where I'd be, oh, I've got to do this, this, and this. Like, and so I go right to that, of
Yeah.
all the, more of a task focus as opposed to just being present. And I remember when you finished the session with me, I was like, I don't know. I feel so relaxed, like more relaxed than having a massage. Like the clarity, and I probably this is would be such a great time to just maximize on all this creativity, like do some brainstorming and, really explore if you're looking, especially if you're a creative person, like it would be such a great opportunity to really get in and do some like deep diving of like, oh, what could I be exploring and doing in the world, really literally brainstorming of different ways to be creative or expand your business. I just thought of that. That would be like, because there's like literally,
Yes.
nothing really interfering. And, and I also was loving how you mentioned about chemotherapy, because I know that I haven't personally, but just with sharing with other people, that often their immune systems get quite compromised in the process of going through this journey. And I love hearing that you shared with, a lot of people are having, less effects from the symptoms, which is so interesting. And I wonder too of like how their recovery is doing. Do you have any feedback on
So
that?
their recovery, for one, they're feeling calmer. Their recovery is speeding up. They're embracing life. I mean, they've just got a new outlook on life. And the thing with the neurofeedback is that it lasts. It's like learning how to read. That's always going to be with you. Riding a
Mhm.
bike, that's always going to be with you. So once you do these sessions, they're with you. And you brought up a massage, and not to put massage down. I go for massage all the time. It's great to move energy in your body. But after a while, if you don't go for a massage, you need to go for another massage. Like your aches come back. Where in neurofeedback, they say 7 to 10 sessions, give a good 10 sessions, you're going to get a big shift, a big
Mhm.
shift. One session, sometimes that's all somebody needs, like to just get going. You're in a stuck mode. But if you want to do some deep dives, or some real big healing, I mean, and what is that? What is 10 sessions? I mean, we spend that on a pair of shoes. We
Yeah.
how many coffees is that? This is you. This is the biggest investment that you can make, is in your brain and yourself, and you're worth it. Aren't we worth it? I mean, and to help a family, to help, as moms, I mean, I didn't realize I was putting all my energy out to my kids, but I had to heal myself
Mhm.
before I could help anybody else. It's like, the airplane, put your oxygen mask on first before you can help anybody else. And I really didn't understand that. You hear these things all the time, but I didn't understand it until I started helping myself, and
Mhm.
I thought I was selfish, for doing it. But it all starts, who's going to help you, right? Nobody's coming. You've got to take you, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
and I just thought my life was valuable. I wanted to be here for my kids. I started seeing that I was passing down my behaviors to my children. And that was
Mm.
there was another aha moment. I saw actually my daughter making the same choices in men that I did. And it was like, oh, no, I can't do this. Because they watch you, whether you think they're watching or not, they watch you.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I've worked with women and children that have been in domestic violence. That was a lot of a lot of what I did in my career, and there was a lot of conditioning, where women really struggled. Like, I think in a lot of ways, and I know in I was doing this myself as well. I'm, sort of a master people pleaser, but this thinking around, I don't want my kids to have what I don't want them to be exposed to what I was exposed or didn't have what I didn't have. And so we tend to go over and, over the threshold of either giving them like way more, overcompensating, trying to protect them. It's like, let me just put you in this little bubble, protect you from the world, thinking that we're actually, doing a great job. And, by all means, I think everybody, I've always said that we always have good intentions as humans, especially as moms. And it takes the courage to be like stepping back and looking at, wait a second, how am I showing up? And I remember I used to say to moms, because it was really difficult for them to be like, well, I don't have time. Like, I don't even have time to go to the bathroom. And I could relate to that, because that was the one time when they would come look for me is I was like
Oh, yeah.
hiding in the washroom, and it's like, mom, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I've been like in the house for an hour or 2 hours, and now when I go to the bathroom. And I would say that in order for you to be able to show up for your children in a different way, because that would often be the case, it's like, yeah, like I don't have any energy. I'm not able to spend the time I want with them. And it was like, okay, if you do this one thing, let's start there. That could make the difference of you being able to show up a little bit differently. Maybe you're not having to yell as much, maybe, or at all. You're not getting as frustrated as quickly. And that was something myself as well. I noticed that, oh wow, I'm changing these, generational beliefs. And whew, like my kids are not going to carry those on. Like, that is empowering. And I think this goes back to what you were saying at the beginning, is this is really all about choice. And I didn't really understand that I did have a choice. I thought, okay, this is how my life is going. I'm just going to keep playing it out this way. And it's never too late to be like,
Never
wait a
too late.
second, I don't want to go straight anymore. I think I want to go right, or maybe I want to go left. And, I don't think it's really refreshing when you meet young people that are starting families and they're really starting to be more awake and more conscious of, really taking this time of how they're showing up, because it has, like we know, energy ripples out. It has a ripple effect on everyone. So,
Well, especially for, pregnant women as well. I mean, what we transport to that beautiful baby that's growing inside of us. I mean, we think that we're not, but we are. I mean, environment or what our beliefs already are. I mean, in a way, you can't take back time, but I wish I would have found this, like, and when I was pregnant, to be able to undo all those beliefs so I didn't pass those down. I mean, but my story is my story, and I had to see that play to see the power of what this modality does, for people, and can clear that. But I mean, the biggest gift. I mean, forget the beautiful, expensive crib or the, this or that. I
mhm.
mean, go and get yourself, clear. And, when your central nervous system is working properly, I mean, you're going to be able to be that best mother in that 2 o'clock feeding. Do you know? I mean, you're going to be, it's going to be tiresome. It's going to be okay, but you're going to be regulated. And with that, because you are a tuning fork for that baby, so you will regulate automatically. That baby will be regulated. Happier babies, easier deliveries, not the postpartum that we so often end up with, afterwards, because you're regulated, you're in the present moment, and you're able to cope and to be more resilient. So, I mean, anyone who's pregnant out there right now, please go and do that for your child. I mean, if you can't do it for yourself, do it for your child, right? But in turn, I mean, you are helping yourself.
Oh yeah, no, I think that that was actually one of the questions that I was gonna ask you. You know, is there a certain age? Like, what would be the youngest age that you would suggest, or you know?
In utero, right? Like,
Yes,
yeah,
yes, yes.
yes. Anybody can do it. It's safe. That's the thing. Nothing's going in, nothing's going out. It's 100% safe and easy. So, I mean, you can put it on a bit. You can put it on animals. I mean, animals, you know,
Mhm.
it's crazy. I know, there aren't that many modalities that can help everybody, but this can, right? This can
Mhm.
help anything. It's just amazing, amazing. So, I mean, there's clients. I'm in the hospital. My brother, I go to the hospital weekly. My brother is in the hospital, and I am
Mhm.
doing neurofeedback on him. He has autism and he is blind. And I mean, I don't want to, but he's starting to see shadows. And it is absolutely amazing. And he is now, through his neurofeedback, he is now making decisions on his own. The nurses are noticing that he's different. The people in his room are noticing he's making decisions. He didn't want to go down for, his entertainment. He said, "No, I don't feel like it today." Where, wow, he said yes to everything. So I'm so proud, that I get to introduce this. So, anyways, back up. There is a gentleman in the room, and they knew exactly what I was doing because he did neurofeedback and he had a stroke and it helped in his quality of life. Now, he didn't do it through me, but they knew exactly what it was. And it extended I had this beautiful conversation with his wife, and it extended his life for 5 years. 5 years. I mean, we've known, patients to wake up from comas just to say goodbye. Do you know? I mean, it can't take away what's already there, but it can help, right? And miracles can happen. I just believe my brother's going to see again, and this will just be wonderful. But it is helping him. He feels better. Do you know? His programming is being unprogrammed from the parents that we had, let's say,
Mhm.
the environment that we were put into. So it's just amazing. I'm seeing every day how it's touching different people. And I'm in awe of this modality.
Yes, I mean, I am in awe just listening and I mean, experiencing it for myself. But what I'm really picking up from this whole conversation is there's no limit. I mean, this
None.
is such a beautiful tool that can really help, like you said, right from vitro in the uterus. We we need to start to give this our brains, that love and attention and support to heal, because that's going to have, the body is going to benefit because everything's connected. Like we can't be
Everything
looking at things in,
is the sword.
sections. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that, one of the things that really has stand out for me in this conversation, Charmaine, I mean, there are so many, but one for sure is the word hope really is just resonating. I'm feeling such a high of hope here because I'm so excited to share this episode because there are people that are dealing with so many different situations, physically, mentally, and it really restricts your quality of life. And this could really open things up for people in such a beautiful, safe, it's not intrusive way. And it just like literally gives you opportunities that you would think were never possible. Like I'm just like so grateful that I have you here on my podcast, because this is going to be a beautiful way to share this with the world. So
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you for being, inquisitive and trying it. And that's the thing. I mean, you just have to try it and you're worth it. And you just never know what's going to happen and what's around the corner.
absolutely. And just want to echo what you were saying before too, is that we really need to start seeing ourselves in a place of, I deserve this, and not be, obviously sometimes we have to be like, oh, okay, I have to figure out how I can afford this. That's a bit different than, well, I just can't do it because I don't have the money. And we're automatically closing ourselves off. So I can't say enough about this amazing tool, neurofeedback. But honestly, I would say that you need to go and try this out yourself. So, Charmaine, if our listeners are local, because I know this is something that you have to do in person, right? This is an in-person experience.
It is an in-person experience, but I mean, I am mobile.
Okay.
For a group of people, though, like, because
Okay.
it is quite something to set up the machine, like
Yeah.
everywhere you go. But I mean, the in person, like I said, I do go to the hospital, and they can't come to me, so I will go and do a day, like at the
Okay.
hospital. But the in-home is, you sit in a beautiful, comfortable chair and a blanket, and you listen to beautiful music, and it's just you don't feel like it's not therapy, it's training, but you don't feel, right, Brenda, like that you're
Mhm. That's
that you're
right.
in that kind of situation. It's you feel like you're in a spa, basically.
100%. And I just want to say that for all the listeners, that Charmaine, as you can see, is just such a beautiful, loving, warm person, and you feel so taken care of. So it's so easy to feel safe and relaxed. And, even at times you feel like you want to go to sleep. Like it's just that comfortable. You have set up such a beautiful arrangement that it just naturally feels so easy to just settle in. So I think that, people will really benefit. But how, we're going to put this in the show notes, but can you tell us like where can people find you, your website? Are you on social media? All of those good
So
places?
I am at willow67.com. You can, it's quite a big website actually, with a lot of information. And I am in the top end of Bowmanville. So my phone number is on the website. You can give me a call. We can do either a phone or an in-person consultation, and just see what your needs are. Yeah.
Oh, that is beautiful. And I highly recommend, if you're listening to this episode and there's something that's kind of pulling at you, I'm just going to invite you to be curious about what is that little pulling that might be coming up for you, and maybe tuning in to that, is that your brain saying, we need to check this out? Or maybe it's your body that's saying, we need a little bit of, self care. Whatever it is, just be curious. And that's what I was. And Charmaine, that's where you were, because that's what led you on this beautiful
Absolutely.
journey. And you are here where you are. And, now you're here helping other people to be able to live that open and healthy life with longevity. And so yes, why would we not take that opportunity? So Thank you again so much for sharing this
Thank
amazing
you for
tool.
having me, Brenda. You are so wonderful, and I love your tapping and what you are bringing to the world as well. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. So, thank you again for listening to another episode of Tapping into Life. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did, and it's got you thinking. It definitely opened my mind to how much this tool can be beneficial in so many areas of our life if we're struggling with certain things, or even just to be preventative. And when we take care of our brain, we're actually helping to support our body. And that's where all the beautiful healing can happen when our body is nice and regulated, which is what neurofeedback really helps to support. So if you felt a little pull in a certain direction throughout this conversation, then I just invite you to be curious. What is that about? Maybe it's, wanting you to explore this beautiful tool. And like I said before, it is such a warm, Charmaine provides such a welcoming and safe environment. And the beautiful thing is that if you are going through, a particular journey of healing right now, and it's hard to find the words, this is such a beautiful tool for that. You don't need the words, and you are giving yourself such a beautiful gift that is going to last longer than, an hour. It's going to help support you down the road. So I would definitely think about checking it out. Her website I will have in the show notes so you can check her out, willow67.com. And she said lots of beautiful information there. And you can reach out to her as well and set up, an opportunity to learn more. It is definitely worthwhile to check it out. It made such a difference when I did it. So I know that it could be very beneficial for you, the listeners. So thank you again for taking this time. If you haven't subscribed, I would appreciate greatly if you could subscribe to the channel. It just helps us to get more people following us and seeing these videos. And these are important conversations. If you have any thoughts of conversations that you would like me to explore, please write that in the comments, as well as if you feel this episode felt aligned and you would like to share it. I welcome you to do that. This is how we get the word out. And this is really just about getting people aware and providing information so people have, options available, right? We need to be doing the best we can to support our mind, body, and soul. So take this time to tap back into life. And until I connect with you again, have the best day, week, month of your life. Bye for now.